Roll sound. Welcome to the show, everybody. I am your host, Garrett Ray, and with me are three of the best people you'll ever meet on a street, or in a plane, or on a bus, or on a boat.
Or just anywhere.
Just, public restrooms, maybe.
Oh, I wasn't going to go that far with it.
Anyway, here's Katie Fain.
Hello.
Abby Kate.
Hi.
And Micah Warberjaeger Jensen Martinez.
Okay, you're welcome.
And there's a feast for your ears. Or the aftermath of one, I suppose.
You can taste it.
Welcome to the show where four unqualified people talk about movies, TV shows, and entertainment in general. We're going to talk today about the new movie from M. Night Shyamalan. I'm going to say it the best I can every time. The new movie Split, which is out in theaters now, and actually just won at the box office for its second weekend in a row. But before we get into that, I do have two important pieces of news I need to get out of the way. First off, they're both Beauty and the Beast related. So first off, tickets are on sale now. So if you want to be able to get in there and take your daughter or whatever, you need to get those tickets now.
Or just yourself.
Or just yourself, I
guess.
Or
your wife.
Or
your girlfriend.
That's my wife hinting it. I have to go buy tickets.
Maybe we'll just go.
We'll just go
by ourselves.
I have been waiting for this for so long.
And we'll make a report together.
Yeah.
And I'll just listen. I'll do the introduction.
No, because you're not allowed to critique.
You guys have to go.
All right, so we are going to review this movie. So we do need to buy tickets. But those are on sale now for those of you who are interested, which is most people, I assume. And then secondly, there has been a lot of merchandising going on for this movie, obviously, because it's Disney and they stand to make a lot of money from the merchandising. But if you are planning on buying a Belle doll for your youngster or your girlfriend or your wife, you can get it a lot cheaper by just buying the dress separately and getting a Justin Bieber doll, because the doll looks like Justin Bieber. And I'm not kidding. If you haven't seen this,
so unfortunate.
Go look it up. It is very clearly Justin Bieber's head on a girl's body. Yeah, it's very weird. Like, I don't like to look at it very much.
It's like they completely forgot she had eyeliner or something. It's just...
Or, a girl's head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The facial structure is just...
It's very wrong, yeah. So I will definitely, I'll be tweeting a photo of this. If you want to see it, our Twitter is @RollSoundPod. But yeah, no, it's a very disconcerting thing to look at. And if you like the weird corners of the internet, this will be your favorite thing for at least 20 minutes. So we're going to be talking about Split this week. Very, very interesting movie that's just come out. Now, Katie and I went and saw this, and we are both of the camp that really, really enjoyed it and thought that there was some very cool, interesting stuff that happened. But Abby, Micah, you guys have a different opinion, right?
It's not that... I found it interesting enough. I don't know. There's just kind of this... Micah, you take it. I'm not wording well right now.
Yeah, it's just bad. We'll get into it once we talk more about specific things.
Okay, so
It's not a good movie.
I'll go ahead and give a basic rundown. There are 23 different personalities that live inside our main character's body, and they are all different parts of his personality that are kind of fully fleshed out in these different characters. Mm-hmm. James McAvoy plays Kevin Wendell Crumb, and he does a fantastic job.
Yeah, it's great.
But we'll get into that later. We've also got Anya Taylor-Joy as Casey Cook, and she was in The Witch previously, so she kind of had... Also, she's doing another horror thriller movie next year as well, so kind of this is the genre she feels most drawn to. But I'll talk about that more later. We've got Betty Buckley as Dr. Karen Fletcher, who was actually... She was in The Happening, and so she's worked with M. Night Shyamalan before. I'm trying so hard. We've also got Haley Lou Richardson and Jessica Sula as Claire and Marcia, who are the other two girls that are kidnapped along with Casey. Then we've got Brad William Henk as John, Casey's abusive uncle. Sebastian Arcelus as Mr. Cook, Casey's father. But anyway, I'm getting into non-important stuff here. But this is probably the best movie that M. Night has put out in quite a while.
I agree with that.
Yeah, that's for sure.
It's definitely better than The Last Airbender.
Oh my gosh.
Which was
anything is better.
like taking my
Last
childhood and beating me over the head with it.
The Happening was better than The Last Airbender.
And
We
that
don't
was where the
talk about
plants
Last
were the
Airbender.
villain.
Yeah.
Like, what's happening? It's just Mark Wahlberg walking around going, what?
What?
I can't believe that.
No,
No,
man,
it can't be the plants. Oh, okay. We're going to come in there, but I'm not going to hurt you, plant.
No, plant, I'm not gonna kill you. No.
We don't
No,
talk
I'm
about the
gonna
Last
water you. It's gonna be great. Come on, just don't kill us.
It's really bad. You don't need to see
It's worth watching if you're like really, really, really tired.
It's kinda entertaining. I'd say.
But it's entertaining for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
So this is much, much, much better, and I'm man, I like this movie. I really do. But so this is an interesting production that went on to make this movie happen. M. Night conceived of the idea for Split years before he actually wrote the screenplay. He explained, in this case, I had written the character a while ago, and I had written out a few scenes of it, so I even had dialogue written out, which is very unusual for me. It sat there for a long time, and I really don't have a clear reason why I didn't pull the trigger earlier, but this felt like the perfect time to do it. With the type of movies I'm doing now and the types of tones I'm interested in, humor and suspense. So this is one thing that like really tripped me out when I was watching this movie. It's funny.
Yeah, it
Like,
is.
It is a thriller and a drama to its core, but it is funny.
There was a few times though that I would giggle, but no one else would. So I'm like, you were. I even looked over at you, and you weren't giggling. So I went like this.
I felt wrong laughing. I wanted to, but I was like, this is not a situation
And
that
so,
I should be laughing
like,
at.
I would sit there trying to contain my laughter at some of these characters, and then so there was a few times I was covering my mouth.
I thought she was just scared, but she's just over there trying to stifle her giggles at this man who's kidnapped several young girls.
Like the woman, what was the woman's name that he was?
Dr. Karen Fletcher?
No,
Miss
no.
Patricia?
Patricia.
Patricia.
Oh, Miss Patricia, yeah.
Like when he first came in the dress, I was like, what?
That was great.
It was
The way it was so much like 10 Cloverfield Lane, if anybody's seen that.
I haven't yet. I really want
It's
to.
really good. It has that same sort of element of really intense suspense, but also it's just so much you can laugh at, too.
In an interview I watched, though, James McAvoy actually talked about, is this going to be like 10 Cloverfield Lane when he was reading the script? And he said it's not, because there's that humor, it's very different from what we get in 10 Cloverfield Lane. And he said he was worried when he first read the script that it was going to be like Saw. He said something along the lines of, wait, is M. Night Shyamalan doing Saw? I don't want to do Saw. I don't want to do Saw. So, but it is very much, if you're going to it and you laugh, he talks about it, he said, I was watching the movie during a test screening with some people, and he said, I was looking at stuff that, we had done on set, and I was going, this is very funny, and everyone is just staring with their mouth open, and he goes, did I do something wrong? But
I really love him as an actor and just person in general. He just seems like a really funny guy.
Yeah, McAvoy is... He's very... The thing about it is, like, he's very funny, but if you watch interviews with him, he never looks happy. Like, he's got... Will Poulter, you know how he's got the eyebrows that make him look like he's always staring you down into your soul? He's like that, but it's not because his eyebrows grew that way. It's because his forehead goes... So, just something... I watched, like, 10 hours of interviews today, so... So just something that's very funny. He's always very focused, very intense.
Yeah, I really appreciated his character, but at the same time, it kind of like tore at my heart a little bit because I loved him so much as a child when he was Mr. Tumnus. And it just kind of messed with me.
This is
just
so
a
messed
little
up
bit.
compared to Mr. Tumnus.
It made me like,
yeah.
just kind of twitch a little bit.
I feel like my brain got so involved with all these different personalities that I think this is one of the reasons why I couldn't sleep last night, because like my brain was trying to comprehend everything, and a lot of it was because I was just not ready to sleep. I was wired, and I was laying in bed, and I'm like, what did I just watch?
Yeah. It is an interesting concept that someone could have that many personalities and be completely detached from every single one.
Yeah, and the transition between each of these personalities over his face.
Yeah. He does a fantastic job.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it.
there's a lot of interviews where people asked him, how did you prepare for that? And he goes, well, just the same way you would for any other movie. I just had to do it 9 times instead of 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I feel like he did a really great job of like having those differences. But there's these scenes. I'll get into that later. There's so much to talk about. This movie, so far, as of right now, Split has grossed $80 million in the United States and Canada and $23.7 million in other territories for a worldwide gross of, in 2 weekends, $101.7 million.
Dang.
Guess how much it cost to make it?
Oh, I almost want to know.
$9 million.
That's
Yeah.
a
There's not a ton
surprisingly
of
small
set.
amount. What?
There's not a ton of sets.
Yeah,
so
there weren't
That's
like
true.
big company moves and stuff. So,
Yeah, that's
but,
true.
But M. Night financed this himself.
Oh,
Wow.
So
That's a lot from one pocket.
yeah.
he made a lot off of it.
Yeah,
in just 2 weekends.
It's a lot into one pocket.
Right. Yeah. So, so this released alongside Triple X, The Return of Xander Cage, and The Resurrection of Gavin Stone, and it's beat both of them 2 weekends in a row. So it's doing quite well, especially for a January release. I mean,
Yeah, well
101
done.
million in January. That's
That's a lot.
not bad, especially for a director who's just criticized everywhere now.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of talk about, how everyone kind of marginalizes him and says, he's that guy who just always has to have a twist.
Yeah.
But one of the things I like about this, and something that I heard someone else articulate earlier as well, is that the twists are throughout the script. It's not like at the end there's one big twist.
Right.
And there kind of is, but we'll get to that in a second. But there's not like a build up to this one moment of like what's happening. It's just kind of like you're constantly guessing at what's going on, what's happening.
Right.
You're starting to
what's-
piece it together throughout the whole movie instead of just one big turnaround where you're like, oh my gosh, that's what's been happening this whole time.
Yeah. Really, the biggest twist is at the very beginning when he comes through the door in a dress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what does it.
That's where I lost it.
So Split has received generally positive reviews from critics, with McAvoy's performance being praised because he's awesome. On the review aggregator site Rotten Tomatoes, the film has an approval rating of 74%, with an average of 6.4 out of 10, which is the same that you actually have in the series of unfortunate events. So, so the site's critical consensus reads, Split serves as a dramatic tour de force for James McAvoy in multiple roles, and finds writer-director M. Night Shyamalan. It's not Shyamalan. It's how it's spelled, but Shyamalan. Returning resoundingly to thrilling form. It's been given 4 stars out of 4 stars out of 5 by The Guardian, stating it will be a masterful blend of Hitchcock, horror, and therapy session. So there's just this. There's a lot of people who really like this, and have said that really what makes it is McAvoy, I mean,
Right.
without a doubt.
Yeah.
Basically, the premise of the movie is that the main character has DID, or dissociative identity disorder, and this is actually a real life condition where someone experiences trauma, and their mind kind of splits, and they get these different personalities that are, designed to protect the main person. Some of this is grounded in truth, and some of it's just kind of like, they went into pure fantasy at the end of it.
yeah.
So we're going to get into spoilers here. So if you haven't seen the movie, definitely go see it. Then come back and listen to this with all of your friends, and then leave us a 5-star review. But but the thing about it is that because of this being a real life condition, that there is some concern over how it portrays it. There has been some controversy. Split garnered controversy for its alleged stigmatization of mental illness. The Australian mental health charity SANE, which is funny, SANE, stated that films like this are going to reinforce a false stereotypical notion that people living with complex mental illnesses are inherently dangerous and violent. The International Society for the Study of Trauma and Dissociation issued a statement debunking the stereotype of dangerous dissociative identity disorder. Try saying that sentence 5 times fast. And criticizing how the film was made at the expense of a vulnerable population that struggles to be recognized and receive the effective treatment that they deserved. Some with dissociative identity disorder spoke out against the film, actually, and its marketing for the representation of multiple personalities as being frightening and or violent, including an open letter to the director. So
I can kind of see that, but at the same time, I would almost say that the film, in a very, indirect sense, almost tried to say the opposite in some of its ways, especially through the doctor. Was it Fletcher?
yes,
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Because I think a lot of what she was trying to do was seen in a very good light in the movie. She's a very positive character who just wants to help people and try to tell others that, these people aren't dangerous. And in the end, this one ended up being
and at the
dangerous.
same time, though, part of the reason that it got this far, I think, is because she wanted to see how far it would go. And I don't know if that's hubris or not, but she let it go a little bit further than it should have.
Curiosity than
but
hubris, but yeah.
It did cause issues because she was like, they're capable of so much more than we think, instead of trying to help them control it.
Yeah.
Because no matter how you look at it, things like dissociative identity disorder, these are disorders. These are not things that are. It's not a good thing.
Right. Yeah.
And yes, these people need help if they're struggling with this.
Right.
Yeah. But if there is the chance that someone with a disorder like this could become violent, and I'm sorry, that makes for a more interesting movie, which is why, that's why this movie was made about that type of character instead of the one who's just like every single one of their disorder, their identities. One works for Greenpeace and one works for Salvation Army. It's just not as interesting,
Yeah. And also, you do feel a sort of sympathy for him because you see in various personalities, he just wants to be a nice guy, and you feel bad for him.
Yeah.
So there is that level of sympathy and understanding.
The disorder is kind of the first fault that I find with the movie. Not so much that he has it or that some of the specific symptoms are on. Or actually, yes, it's that. Because she goes into so much detail about the physiology changing about these people who have these split personalities and just really emphasizes that. And it's just, all right, come on. If this was like a fake thing, then fine, make up some stuff. But since it's like a thing, it just felt really stupid.
Although, and I did some research on this, they definitely strayed into fiction and fantasy there. And part of that could have been like, that was the story they were telling,
Right.
It's definitely borderline horror type thriller stuff, and that's what they were doing. But the other part of it is that, people have said there's, you're not going to be able to do crazy, insane things. However, there are cases where, someone has an identity that's stronger than their main personality. And when that identity takes over, there's an increase in adrenaline. And that, gives them more strength while that personality is in control.
Yeah.
So it's more of an exaggeration than a complete lie until the end, where it gets way out there. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was a little. The whole beast was a little
Spoilers.
much for me.
To be fair, though, and see, here's the thing: is this is M. Night has said that this is a drama, it's a thriller, but this is technically a superhero movie.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: I would have been fine with those sorts of exaggerations if it was done in the right way. But the way she presented it was to this panel and board and audience of like a medical, convention.
Yeah.
She was trying to present it in like this official way to like a medical press, trying to be like, this is how it is, this is the science of it, so it kind of has that feel to it. But if they did it in a more haunting sort of horror way, where it's like, well, people who have this thing, they have different strengths in this way, and their physiology changes when she's just talking to like one specific person or something. If they just changed the presentation of it, it would come out a lot less corny.
Well, I mean, but she does deal with Kevin's not her only patient with this, so she does have multiple case studies that she's working with. Also, M. Night's focus with this was that it's very grounded. It's very it's tried to be. They try to base it in reality as much as possible, and that's something that not everyone's gonna like. And I get what you're saying. Like, it kind of seems like that's a bit out there.
I appreciate that he's trying to ground it in reality, but also still trying to tell a story. But that's where the problem comes: is he's doing two at the same time, and he wasn't doing it as artfully as he should have.
I mean, I liked that. I liked that was kind of like the explanation for how this all happened. But I didn't have to. You have to take it with a grain of salt because it's fantasy.
Yeah.
You know, and the further you get into the movie, the more fantasy it is.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the thing is, like, in the beginning, you kind of go into it feeling like this is
just
just
a dude
plain
with a messed up-
scary.
yeah.
And then you start going into, okay, this is more like superhero stuff.
Right.
This is, but
And
it's
it's
still
definitely
got
superhero
that
stuff.
eeriness that's just like, this is messed up.
So, one of M. Night's previous movies was Unbreakable, which is Bruce Willis and I'm forgetting his name. Samuel Jackson.
Yeah.
But you know, it's a superhero movie, but again, grounded in reality because that's more what he wanted to do. And Kevin Wendell Crumb was originally in that movie.
Really?
But he was taken out because of pacing issues and just, you know, it felt kind of like added stuff that didn't need to be there. So that's where this character comes from, and so it's always been a part of that universe. So I don't know if that makes you feel better about it or not.
No, it's not. It's not so much about him as a character. It's just the way they presented the symptoms of the disorder. It's just they did it in a cheesy, corny way to me. And in Unbreakable, they did it well. You know, they made it more of a superhero story. They made it more of that. But in this, it felt like it was trying to stay too close to earth, too grounded. It was like it was trying to go for a Batman, a 2005 Batman feel, and then by the end it's going like 1986 Batman. It's like, all right, choose a Batman.
Choose a Batman. You hear that, M. Night? Choose a Batman. Well, this was definitely a lot of people I know in the theater behind us were going, oh, they set it up for another one, you know, and it definitely feels that way. M. Night has expressed hope for a second installment following Split, saying, I hope a third Unbreakable film happens. The answer is yes. I'm just such a wimp sometimes. I don't know what's going to happen when I go off in my room a week after this film opens to write the script, but I'm going to start writing. I have a really robust outline, which is pretty intricate, but now the standards for my outlines are higher.
Oh, thank
I need to
goodness.
know I've won already. I'm almost there, but I'm not quite there. So, so it was definitely, you know, this was a continuation of a project he did a while back, and he wants to continue that on. I don't know, maybe next time there won't have to be explanations for what's going on because we'll already have that established. So maybe you'll like the
Right.
next one better.
I think I probably would.
Yeah. Or it'll be The Last Airbender all over again.
Please no.
Ugh, I sure hope not. Well, let's talk about some more specifics of the movie. There's some really interesting stuff about the production of this movie. So the lighting was absolutely gorgeous,
It was good.
which is crazy because we're in this like underground bunker for 80% of the runtime, and they did a really good job of kind of giving that eerie lighting, but things were still, I don't know, they were just it was nice to look at,
Yeah.
And there's a lot of point of view shots, and M. Night said that this was not intentional. Like they didn't just go in and go, okay, point of view from there, you get a point of view over there, everybody get a glass of water in case some aliens show up, point of view over there. That didn't work. But he said that this wasn't intentional. It just happened naturally because they were locked in this room most of the movie, and so seeing
only so many-
things,
yeah.
right, yeah, seeing things from these characters' point of view was bound to happen, and it just kind of felt natural. And so we don't have a lot of like these over the shoulder shots. We're focused on one character or another. And a lot of the time they're framed like, center of the frame, instead of being off to 1/3 or the other, which is unsettling because it's not, that's just not standard. That's not what we're used to. But they also use, I'm trying to remember the name of this thing. I wrote it down. But these shots where, normally if you have a character in a shot, it's called short sighting. If you have a character in a shot and they're on 1/3 or the other, they'll be looking towards the side of the screen that has more open space. But in this movie, a lot of the shots, they're looking towards the shorter side of the frame.
I didn't notice that a couple times.
Yeah, and so this is something that it's become a lot popular in recent years, but this is something that is intentionally done to make people, feel more uneasy and uncomfortable because it's like they're looking off,
To where you definitely can't see what's going on.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're closed off to you. And they did that a lot with Kevin to kind of hide what was really going on and all that stuff. So some very interesting choices that they made that I think added to that atmosphere.
Yeah.
That made it that thrilling constant like what's next, what's over there that I can't see.
I definitely love all the close-up shots up on Kevin's face because it just showed all the emotion going on there, and you're just waiting. Is he going to turn? Is he going to be something else soon? And you're always on the edge of your seat,
There was
just not
especially
knowing when.
a moment when he was talking to Dr. Fletcher, and she was starting to try to unravel Dennis, trying to get
and it's
him
Dennis
to
pretending to be Barry so that Dr. Fletcher doesn't find out what's really going on.
And
Right.
honestly, I thought he was gonna lose it.
Yeah, I thought he was going to go crazy on
I
her.
thought he was gonna like all these questions like, can anybody hear? Does anybody else know this stuff or
Right.
know about us or whatever?
Yeah.
And I thought he was gonna kill her then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His calmness was so unnerving.
It was so scary, and that moment where you're just watching his face go from Barry to Dennis was so freaky because
Yeah.
it's like he's hardly changing anything. It's just a slow change, a very, very slow change, and you're just like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
And there's those
see
tiny
it.
moments like while he's talking and like trying to pretend to be Barry, that you see those like little glimpses of Dennis peeking through, you know, and it's these micro expressions that are going on, and it's so much fun to watch.
That's where his performance is just absolutely stellar because as Micah was saying earlier, like any actor can jump from this voice to this voice, and you know, it's just like, you know,
But the
people
facial
can do that,
expressions,
but it's just those little details,
little
that he
changes.
just absolutely nailed, and it's great.
He's definitely an unpredictable character. That's what I love most about him.
Yeah.
So I guess I had it written down. What do you guys think of his performance? But I guess we've covered that.
Yeah, pretty much.
So
His
what?
9-year-old was great.
Yes. Okay.
Oh,
so
yeah.
which personality? There are 9 in the movie that we see out of the 24 that exist. Which personality would you say was your favorite? And we'll start with you, Micah.
Performance-wise, I would say the 9-year-old was my favorite just because
Hedwig?
he got the movements and mannerisms of a 9-year-old down perfectly.
Yeah.
It was very impressive. Like, just his
so
eye
great.
contact and everything, the way he talked, it was really stellar. But as far as characters from him that I liked, my favorite character was Barry.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just loved that little fashionista character.
Yeah.
It's cute.
Yeah.
Abby?
I have to say the same. Hedwig was just so good. It was just like you feel bad for him, but he kind of has that like mischievous little 9-year-old. I'm going to tell on you if you don't.
Yeah.
You know, it's just so great. I love how he said, etc.
Etc.
Yeah, like because you know that's something a 9-year-old would do. Like they
Right.
learn a new word and then they're like, "I'm going to use this
Overuse it.
because it makes me sound smart."
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I love that little detail. It's just
Yeah.
kind of like, oh, that's so cool. To
That was some good writing right
listen
there.
to,
It's so great.
Katie?
I would have to say the 9-year-old too because there was something like when they were in his room, like it was kind of eerie to me
Oh man, that
because
What do you think of the dance?
it
Oh,
was.
that
I
was a sick
busted up
dance.
laughing, and
That
I
was-
felt like I don't even know if other people were laughing. I was just like, "What is this?"
Well, it's totally something my little brother would have done.
I
As a
pictured
9-year-old.
Wesley.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. My
And-
9-year-old brother.
Well, but there was something eerie about it, is because I was like, "Is Dennis gonna show up anytime soon?" Like she's out of this
You just
room,
have no idea. Yeah.
and
And what if Dennis finds out what Hedwig's doing?
Right.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. So I was
but they're the
kind of.
same person.
That
Like, I
moment,
wanted to enjoy that moment, but at the same time, I was like,
really scared.
Yeah.
Also, that moment of panic when you realize the window isn't a window.
Yeah, that
You're like,
was.
oh my god, and you can just feel it in like her expression, and he sees it, and it's just like, oh no, just all this at once. Just you're like, crap.
There was so much emotion, I think, in like every scene, and watching Casey kind of try and figure him out and think things through when
That
the
was
other
good.
girls weren't. Like that was very. They had this synergy going on, you know, kind of this back and forth that you could see between McAvoy and Anya, and it's so much fun to watch them kind of work together. And they've talked a lot in their interviews saying stuff like, you know, McAvoy is. I'm trying to figure out the right way to say this. They have very different ways of approaching a character when they're acting, and McAvoy kind of jumps back and forth, and Anya is kind of just in the moment all the time. But they shared those spaces together and got along really well, and it, you know, it shows on screen that respect that they have for one another, I think, and McAvoy even says, the way that you interact with people during a scene, he said, you're up there with the best of them. I mean, you're fantastic. And you got
really good.
Yeah, you got it. I mean, that coming from James McAvoy, that's
it's a very high compliment. I have to say, I really liked how they portrayed all three of the teenage girls.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it kind of, like, gives a little shout out to not every, but the main, like, types, I guess. I hate to say that.
Yeah.
Of, girls you're going to find, say, as a junior in high school.
Right.
You have the one who, she's a nice person, but she kind of thinks a little bit too much of herself, and she's a little bit overconfident.
Yeah.
And she thinks she can be the leader.
And
then you have the quiet outcast. And then you have the girl who, she just needs somebody to follow.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's not really any fault of hers. She's just a follower.
Yeah.
And so it's like when one's falling down on the job, she's going to turn to the other one to know what to do next. And yeah, it's just, she's one of the cool girls, but
I
she's
think
also very
also
unsure.
a lot of that is, I mean, putting yourself in that position. What would you do?
Yeah. And I think the different thoughts that would go through my head in some sort of situation like that, I could see reflected in each of the girls.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Like, immediately take charge, or look to someone else to see what they think we should do, or try to assess the situation before acting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just kind of, it kind of goes through, in those three girls' reactions, what any normal person thinking through this would think. I could either do this, or I could do this, or I could do this.
Yeah.
And I think that was well portrayed in each of the girls.
And I do like that none of them were just helpless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These are all they're teenage girls, and they're not always entirely sure about what they're doing, but they act, and there's no like, oh, we're never getting out of here. Like they have hope throughout, and that they're gonna make it, and they try to encourage one another, and there's they fight too, but
Right.
but I love that they're not weak characters. Like each one of them puts up a fight.
And three girls that normally wouldn't get along together, like trying to plan together, and you hear them throughout the movie. We have to, like, when the two girls are stuck in the closets next to each other, they say, even though they might be able to get out here in a second, we got to go get Casey.
Yeah,
They're still gonna go back for the other one, and I
and
like
they don't
that.
even like Casey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a very human level.
Yeah,
of
because when you
things.
go through something like that, anything traumatic with
anybody, you're gonna
you're gonna cling
to
part
each other.
Part of you clings to that person in a way that you really don't understand.
Yeah.
So, Garrett, your favorite
I
personalities.
thought maybe I'd avoid this. I love them so much. My favorite is Hedwig. I think that's a unanimous decision here. Just because I think he's kind of the most fun to watch.
Yeah.
Patricia was unsettling for me.
Very,
I really
very
liked Patricia.
unsettling.
I love
Like
Patricia.
I liked her, but it was still just it was just the most unsettling for me. But I like Dennis too, because Dennis is that cold, calculating, part of his character, and I liked watching that. And then when he held out the bucket, then he goes, I've color coded these. Blue is for the floor, orange is for the ceramic surfaces. Just just holds it there, and yeah.
Actually, one of my favorite characters is Jade. That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Barry's fun too, though. I don't know, man. Hedwig's got to be my favorite.
Yeah.
That whole theme, theme. I got a lisp out of nowhere. But he goes, he's gonna do bad things to you, and you're not gonna like it. I laughed and I was terrified in that moment, because it was just like this. There was this childlike glee to the thought of something terrible happening to these girls, and it's he perceives himself as a 9-year-old boy, who has just been tortured by his mother and just wants to not be ridiculed and laughed at anymore. Which brings me to an interesting point, that this movie, according to M. Night, is about trauma. It's about what happens to people when they are mistreated consistently and really face terrible things, and so that's, do you guys, was that kind of something that you walked away from this with? Like, it's about, because not only is Kevin affected by trauma.
Casey is
Casey
too.
is too.
Because of the abuse.
From her uncle.
And I called it when I first saw, like, there was a moment where, like, when her dad was asleep, I had this unsettling feeling.
Yeah.
And I was like, what a pig.
Yeah.
Because, like, that's my first thought. What a pig. And then when it came to, like, it reveals it.
Yeah.
I felt sick to my stomach.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Those scenes always make me so angry.
Oh, my gosh. I wanted to just, like, throw something.
I know it's real stuff. Like, this happens all the time.
Yeah.
Which
but
is what's
seeing
so
it visually,
unsettling about it.
But they didn't have to, like, go too far with it.
Which I really appreciate.
They alluded to it and didn't push it. There was this another thing I was thinking about is like when I during the first part of the movie I was like, there's no like there's no cleavage or anything, like these girls are they're wearing short skirts but they're not being sexualized.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then like right after that Dennis comes in and grabs one of the girls and I was just like, it gets worse from here, doesn't it? And it did. It's just like I get why. Like there was a very good reason because Dennis is that's his fatal flaw, if you will, aside from being a murder. But
and then the fact that she said pee yourself, that says something.
She was very smart,
she
and that was because of the OCD. Like she saw it in him, analyzed it, and said, "This will make it impossible for him to continue. This is your only hope." And like, and again, another point of view shot, which is the only one I felt was kind of weird in the whole movie, was that when like she grabbed the camera. But I liked it, but it was also like just like
a little disconcerting,
just a little bit different. But also that puts you in that character's shoes. Like like she just sees someone go, pee yourself, and that's the last thing you see before you're dragged out into
at that part. I did kind of giggle a little bit because I was like, what?
Okay, what's happening?
I'll do it. I'm on board.
Pee yourself. Okay. That's a peeing sound.
Anyway,
sudden quietness. But no, there's okay. Which actor or actress do you think gave the weakest performance in this movie? Like, if you had to pick a character, who do you think was kind of the one that was like, okay? Because I really don't think they were like bad performances.
No.
Mm-mm.
It was a very small cast, so.
Yeah.
Katie, we're starting with you.
Hang on, give me a minute.
You're on the spot. Here's the spotlight.
Okay. It's hard.
They were very good, all of them.
Yeah.
They were good. I'd have to say one of the two teenage girls.
Yeah, I think the one who's kind of
I don't know.
like looks to people for answers. Like what do
But
I do next?
At the same time, I felt like that was like a good character.
Yeah, but I mean,
so it's Marcia and Claire. Claire's the one,
the leader one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe Marcia out of the two, but I don't. But
again, yeah,
that's a very normal human response. Like, what do you think we should do?
Yeah.
There was when I thought of this question earlier, I thought Marcia was my pick because when she's digging around for stuff to like help out when they're in the separate rooms, she goes, "There's a hanger," and it was like the line didn't seem to fit the urgency of the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I have a different pick, but I want to hear your guys' thoughts first. So. Who's next? Abby, Micah?
I thought her dad was kind of lame.
Okay.
He was just kind of, I don't know, flat.
He could have had a more
impactful
character. Presence.
Yeah.
And for the few moments that he was there, he could have had a more solid character.
Yeah. I disagree. I liked her dad.
He was nice.
He was a nice dude.
Lame.
But that was it.
Well, my pick for the worst person in this entire movie, the worst, lamest performance, the EMT person in the back of the ambulance. She was dry and awful, and I hated that moment. She goes, "Okay, I'm just gonna check you now."
Yeah.
Yeah, true. Okay,
There you go. We found our worst character.
So if anyone sees her, just give her a slap on the wrist. Go, bad actress.
Aw.
So that's my pick for the worst. But no, I think that all the main players in this gave a very strong performance.
I do think little Casey was good.
Little
She was
Casey
really
was very good.
Now,
That kid's
when
fantastic.
she got the gun to point
Oh,
at
that
dude,
standoff?
that was amazing.
Oh,
I don't know why
man.
I'm standing up. I'm sorry. I got really excited. I just need to bring the microphone with me.
Yeah, that standoff, she's holding that shotgun, her fingers on the trigger. Like, that was such a tense moment. I loved that so
It was
much. I wanted her to shoot.
I did
Me
too.
too.
I was like, please, little girl, do yourself a favor.
But at the
Right.
same time, the fact that she didn't, I mean, partially because he took the gun, but there's still that bit of innocence in her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's just like that would haunt her.
yeah.
And whether, then it's just like you weigh your options. Like, you murdered someone at the age of what, 6?
Yeah.
Or live with that abuse.
Do you guys think that her father's death might have been somehow related to her uncle?
Yep.
Because that's the feeling I got.
Absolutely.
I don't feel like there was enough evidence to support that.
There wasn't enough evidence to argue against it.
I don't know. It's just
It's a straw man's argument.
That's like the first. I didn't even think about that.
It's the way he came, like, it
Yeah.
runs in the family.
Yeah. Like, just the way he said it, like, it was like, no, you mean you run in the family with arsenic.
Nah, I don't feel like he did. I feel like it just happened. It's not like he wasn't like a crazy evil Jafar sort of character who's like, I'm gonna kill your father to have you as a sex slave forever. Yeah. He's just kind of a gross
Disney movies
dude.
are darker than I remember.
That happened. I think that even though, that happened and kind of gave her over into his care, which is a terrible,
I wouldn't
terrible
use the
thing to
word
happen.
care, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a terrible thing. But I don't think he had anything to do with the death.
Okay.
I think, unfortunately, this stuff happens,
Yeah.
which is awful. But there's, some families just have that creepy uncle. It's just really unfortunate to say, but he has his perversities, but I don't think, is that a word?
Sure.
Why not?
Okay.
It makes
But
sense.
he's
Tweet
not-
at us
but he's
at
not
Roll
gonna-
Sound Pod.
He's not going to murder her father so that he can, keep her.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
There wasn't enough evidence to support it, but there wasn't enough evidence to go against it either.
Yeah,
I don't think he's smart enough for that,
No,
to be honest.
But
I mean,
also-
any man who takes his clothes off and goes in the woods is.
it says animals don't wear clothes, but
Although that's just that was so messed
that was
up.
awful.
Ugh.
But also another moment I loved was when she says, "Your uncle's here," like in the police car.
Yeah.
That was the
And
next
they
note
didn't
I
have-
had. Yeah.
They didn't have to say a word. And she just looked at her. But I wish the police officer had a little bit more emotion.
She kind of got this, she kind of tilted her head a little bit.
Yeah, but I kind of wish there was a little bit more.
I needed more resolution to that, honestly.
Yeah, and that's one of the things is this movie leaves a lot of unanswered questions, but that's something that M. Night has said that he left some of that in there because he wants people to be involved in it and to have to kind of fill in blanks themselves because it leaves it without being just like, all right, and here's a textbook happy ending. He made a good point. There's a lot of moments in this film where it's just eye contact, but it's not dead space.
Right.
And he says he made a point in one of his interviews. He said, there's a lot of movies like, okay, final football game comes along, the main character, he makes the big touchdown, and his mom just claps from the sidelines, and it's just everything's happy and so happy, and that's it. That's all there is to it. Like, there's no balance of good and bad there. It's just all good, and it comes off as cheesy. And what he said was, if I was, directing that scene, I would tell that mom before we rolled, this is the last moment your son will ever need you. And you're not, you'll never say it. It won't be said on screen, but he will go on from this point and do things on his own and won't need you anymore. And because of that thought, and this is, what great actors do is they have these thoughts going on. There's there's something there, and the audience may not ever know exactly what it is, but they know it's there and it's real. And that's what he did a lot in this film, and what he does a lot in a lot of his films if you watch them. And that's one of the things that, yes, he's had his rough spots, and then the stuff that never should have happened, Stairbender. But but he's very good at creating those human moments, and so I really, really appreciated that. I do want more closure on that stuff, but at the same time, that bears the question: what did that moment really mean? There has been some speculation that because of the trauma, she could experience some of the same effects as Kevin did as a child. I think that's a little bit out there.
I think that's out there.
But it is not, outside of the realm of possibility because she experienced something truly traumatic.
Right.
But or was that moment just that I just escaped one monster, I'm not going back to another?
That's what I
Yeah.
felt it was.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like that's probably the more likely of the two.
I think that her experience being held captive like that, I think it just kind of, when she finally pulled the trigger, I think it was just like she did what she wanted to do all those years ago.
Both shotguns.
Yeah, both shotguns, same one. And it's just, I think that was just like the final blow for her to just be like, no, I'm done.
What do you guys think of the scene where Kevin has morphed into the Beast? Okay, I have several questions for this portion. M. Night did a lot of stuff where he didn't do the cutting, what they call montage filmmaking, which was popularized a lot by Michael Bay, where it's just like there's so many cuts and distractions that you can't really tell what's going on, and it's to kind of keep the pace up and all that stuff. But he lets the camera linger a lot of times in this film, and it's fantastic. It's more of a callback to Hitchcock's type stuff, and so there's those connection moments where you see the geometry of the scene, you see the relationships of the characters in one frame. So I loved that part of it. But what was your reaction when she opened the door and saw Marcia on the floor? Were you expecting that in that moment?
I wasn't expecting that.
Like it looked like I can't describe it. Gut
It
soup.
made me sick a little bit.
Yeah.
To my stomach.
Yeah.
I reeled back in my chair, and I tensed.
I went, it's just
Yeah.
like that. Oh my gosh.
One of your
Like-
famous Abby noises, just. This was so deep and dark, and now we finally humor. We're a comedy podcast. We haven't been funny at all.
Man. Yeah, no. I don't know what exactly I was expecting. I think maybe just an empty room was probably what I was expecting at that point.
Yeah, but not an open belly.
Yeah.
No, I was like, zombies now? And
Yeah.
but
I don't know. I guess, part of me thought that they were all going to get out alive once she... there's always that lingering hope.
Yeah.
I
knew
kind of
somebody had to
disagree
die.
on that. I kind of always had the feeling that the two girls would
Yeah.
die.
Yeah.
But I thought they would die earlier.
Right.
They
Yeah,
held out
exactly.
to the end. That's why I thought they were going to
And-
make it.
Exactly.
The thing is, they built up to this beast. And I'm like, surely not. Like, what? Surely just...
It's just a fantasy, like Dr.
Yeah,
Fletcher
and
says.
when he was transforming,
the train.
I was like the train scene.
Another moment where they lingered, where it just was that one long shot, and it didn't need a whole bunch of special effects, but we saw that transformation happen.
And in my mind, I was like, no. No.
What did you guys think of when he crawled on the wall?
That was cool.
I was just like, all right.
That's when I was just kind of like, okay, we've fully gone into supervillain mode here.
Right.
Yeah. No. When they opened the door and saw the blood and guts, I was just like, all right, cool, whatever. But the part when he turned into the beast and then ran off down the train tracks made me laugh.
It did. It's the way he's running.
Yeah.
Like, and
So
his arms are
stupid.
like out to here, and
It was
he's like,
funny. And every running sequence was just making me laugh. It was just ridiculous.
It made me
Would
think
you have been
of
happier
something,
with the
and I
Tom
can't
Cruise
remember
run?
what it
Yes. He's a professional runner.
was. I don't know what it was, but it made me think of, I don't know if
It's
it's like
wacky.
a gorilla or I don't know.
it did look like a gorilla. That I couldn't think of what
Just
it made.
the run.
Well,
The
here's
run.
an,
Intentionally gorilla-y.
Yeah.
here's an
You're supposed
interesting
to.
little tidbit. The beast is an amalgamation of the different animals in the zoo that Kevin works in. So, so the reason that he has these, like, being able to climb like a lizard and having the toughened skin like a rhino and being able to run like a cheetah, like, that's because this personality is based on. You guys are laughing, but hold on.
More
hold
like
on.
an ape.
Run like a cheetah.
With the speed, because he's running fast.
He was very, very fast.
But that's based on his experiences there at the zoo, and there are cases with actual DID where people will base in their mind a personality is based on animals.
Yeah, no, we all deal with emotional trauma definitely. Some of us bottle it up. Some of us turn into spiders.
lizard,
Some of
cheetah,
us can
rhino
climb
people.
walls afterward. It's we all deal with it differently.
All because they shut down Fuddruckers in Temple.
Oh, why'd you have to bring that up?
I don't know. I'm sad now. Hold on, I gotta go climb a wall. I'm sorry.
That's really, it's just like, all right. So the whole thing is like, he built up these personalities because he's been traumatized, and now he has super.
That didn't make sense to me, but I thought it was cool, but it didn't fit.
Well, it's the final step to protecting Kevin.
Yeah.
Is to be stronger and more evolved than the people who have hurt him in the past.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that's the
It
point.
it didn't match, I guess, with me.
It was just wacky.
I felt like it meshed together very well. Am I alone? I'm alone.
I mean, I loved the movie, but I feel like the beginning it was like all medical, and then, boom, superhero.
Yeah, that was my problem. Is that it didn't blend those two aspects well.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from.
I liked it.
Most people did.
I'm appreciating it more as we talk about it.
Yeah.
Just yeah.
It was a well done film in many
It
ways.
is a well done film.
But
Micah, you need to talk about it some more.
It was just, I don't know. It was wacky.
Yeah,
it was wacky in some ways.
Yeah. So it's I got some fun facts here, but I have one more question. Casey's scars, do you think that that those were self-inflicted or the product of abuse?
Originally, when I first saw them, I thought self-inflicted, but then because of the locations, not. Because they're right here. How, what are you doing?
You take a knife on your shoulder and cut there, but that seems really strange.
It's a very weird place.
Self-inflicted harm is much more systematic and organized.
Self-inflicted harm, you would try to hide it better.
Yeah, there was stuff that looked like claw marks. They were curved and I've seen a lot of articles saying self-inflicted wounds is why she was saved, but I don't think that's it.
No.
She's damaged not by herself, by someone else, by her uncle.
Absolutely.
I think it was definitely abuse, not her.
Yeah, and I mean, if you've ever seen someone's scars from self-harm, it doesn't look like that.
No. They're very... they're kind of small.
Fine.
Yeah, they're very fine.
Very
they're
precise.
Small.
These were rigid like nails.
Yeah.
Or, much more blunt.
Yeah, and they were around her waist as well.
Yeah.
I don't feel like anyone goes
like
to the
he
waist.
used bigger objects himself, whatever the case may be.
Like her struggling to try and get away from him. This is very sad. So I'm going to move on to the next thing. So a lot of people who worked in this movie were not highly experienced filmmakers, which blew me away. So
that's interesting.
This is the cinematographer's third movie. The composer.
That is impressive.
He did it. He's like a cinematographer star.
Right? This was the composer's first movie.
Oh my gosh.
And that music was intense. Like, that opening title sequence was fantastic. It was like just sound and noise, but there was music layered in there. Oh gosh, I love the sound design on this. This was the production designer's first movie as well, and the editor's second movie.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane.
That's really impressive.
I mean, obviously they've worked on a lot more stuff than this, but like as a union worker,
Yeah. Something I wanted to hit on was the idea.
Your boyfriend.
No, we've been together for 4 years.
The spark is just gone.
Yeah.
Nah, sparks there. The hitting on people. Nah. Okay. Anyway.
I hope so.
I've started something I didn't intend to.
The idea that those who have suffered are worth more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a little weird.
To be fair, though, that's coming from the character who's quite messed up.
Yes, absolutely. I just thought it was interesting because, in your traditional, beast story, you hear it in mythology a lot of the time is, the beast wants a pure sacrifice, and this beast wanted a impure sacrifice?
No, they called it sacred food.
They did, but they also called it an impure.
Yeah, you're right, yeah.
Yeah. But at the same time, they wanted someone who wasn't jaded, and that was what was considered impure. Which is a really kind of weird, twisted, and an interesting ideal.
Yeah.
That the purest would be the one who is the most damaged.
Yeah, I found that a little weird too.
I
I was going to say something, but
at
I
a
forgot what I was going to say.
weird angle of looking at it, get what he meant by that.
Well, he said that
He
they're
harbors more resentment towards the people who haven't suffered.
the ones who've been protected.
Right.
Yeah, and he talks about how, you know, if you haven't suffered, you're unimportant. You're not strong. You'll
Or
never reach your full
worthless,
potential.
yeah.
You can look at it one way and say, yes, you know, struggle is what brings out the best in us.
Like,
But it
wall
definitely
climbing.
didn't bring out the best in this guy.
No.
Well, he can climb walls and
That's
be
true.
invincible.
He is the lizard man.
Yeah, so
Lizard,
he's got
rhino,
that going for him.
gorilla, cheetah.
Yes, the Ligurachita. That's the noise it makes.
I don't know, guys.
But yeah, no, that's there are a lot of things that are very messed up in this film. That's definitely one of them. I think that, you know, this is definitely, if you look at it a certain way, you can say it's a case for people to protect the ones that they're, you know, in charge of. To say, you know, I'm not going to beat you just because you've made a mistake, you know, because what you're doing does have long-term effects. And you don't want to end up with a lizard boy. So
That's for sure.
it's very hard to be funny about this topic. I can't. So fun facts, just real quick. M. Night chose the people who were young bucks, the people who hadn't done a lot, because he wanted to get their instinct and their dangerous take on stuff to mix with his experience in the industry, and I think that worked out very well. So that was really cool. Also, every single screenplay that M. Night Shyamalan has written has had an offer to be made into a movie. Every single one.
Wow.
Dang.
One of those was Stuart Little. So
He wrote
Remember
Stuart
Stuart
Yeah.
Little?
He did?
yeah,
Wow.
or at least he claimed it.
Wow.
He didn't write Stuart Little. E.B.
We
White
came up with the
wrote-
idea.
I mean,
Little
he
Hey, Little
wrote the
Ho.
script. Yeah.
Right.
So,
Wow.
High, little. Is it little high, little low?
yeah.
Little hey, little ho, little.
Yeah, that's little high, little low, little hey,
Yeah.
little ho. Yeah. And I have a fun little game I like to play very, very quickly.
I like games.
I like games. That was fun. The way you said
I
it.
like fun.
If you had, I had 5 before, but we'll cut it down to 3. If you had 3 personalities living in your head, what do you think
Oh,
they
no.
would be?
Oh dear.
Katie?
What about oh dear makes you want to choose me first?
The fact that you said oh dear and sounded completely unprepared.
Can I pass for a moment?
Sure.
I got mine.
All right.
Okay, let Micah
go,
go.
Micah.
All right, so maybe I should start with that one. Okay, so one of them is like this adventurous dude who goes out, has like a big, like beard or whatever, flowing hair, and he's an adventurer and he builds things and he's a manly man. He's down to earth. He's just of the planet. The next one is just a fat gamer dude. Who doesn't do anything, just kind of gets fat, eats trash, and just stays around the house all the time.
He's the guy with Cheeto dust all over his clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other one is a therapist lady who likes to listen to people's problems and help them through things.
Cool. Abby? One of them will be a dolphin. Got it?
Gosh, I really.
I mean, I got some of mine if you want
You
to
go,
pass.
yeah.
Okay. I think one of them would be like a butch-looking woman eating, like a fat butch-looking eating like an obese man. Because that's just me.
She can put away food like no one else I know.
Yeah.
My food bill jumped from like $200 a month to about $16,000 when we got married.
I like tacos, guys.
Send tacos.
Yeah.
Make Katie very happy lady.
You can tweet me about food and such. Give me recipes at Katie Fain on Twitter. But anyway.
That's KATIEFAIN.
Yeah. Tweet me recipes. I will try them.
Just tweet her lots of pictures of tacos.
Anyway.
All right, so your first one is a taco loving large butch woman apparently.
Yeah.
What's your second one?
Okay. I feel like there's like would be a really overly confident one that would. I don't know how to further explain other than that she's very attractive, and then there's the always awkward person who doesn't know how to communicate properly, who doesn't talk well with people. And that's just all of me. That's just me in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Like all those.
I'm imagining you like inside a walnut right now.
But I mean, I don't know how to further explain.
All right, Abby, what would your 3 personalities be? We're coming back to you.
Okay. One would be kind of like a woodsy adventurer person who just kind of like goes and hikes and camps and just basically travels all the time. I don't know how she gets money. Another one would be a jazz singer in Europe.
What part of Europe?
Anywhere and everywhere.
All the parts of Europe.
Yeah, just kind of one of those people that different fancy restaurants have on standby to just like, this person sings once a month, so like, or what, something like that. So, you know, I'm in Italy one day, England another. It's just...
Where do you sleep?
It's a good question.
At the restaurants.
Starving artists. I don't know.
You sleep on starving artists?
I sleep in my car.
I am a starving artist. I don't know where I sleep.
All right, what's your 3rd personality?
Either a counselor or a writer. Maybe both.
You're a counselor writer who writes about the people you counsel.
Ooh,
That
that's
changes
illegal.
you change their names.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right, I guess I should do mine now. I probably should have thought of some while you guys were talking.
Would
Whoops.
have been good.
Probably. I think my first one would be a film critic who sits in a very stuffy, small New York apartment writing angry things. My second would be probably a missionary, but like the places where there were bathrooms.
Yeah.
The outhouse.
A little less gutsy mission.
And then my third one would probably be a ballet dancer who always falls down.
There you go.
That works.
Like, I have this dream and I constantly chase it, but what I end up doing is just making myself look like I have a pug face because I constantly am landing on my face.
Well, can I extend this game, actually? I have an idea.
Okay.
Garrett, you're a funny guy. What would you think our personalities would be?
Oh, don't put that on me.
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
Okay.
I like this. Just one
Start-
per person.
start with
Just
Micah.
one per person?
Yeah.
Start
Yeah,
with
one
Micah.
per person.
Okay. Micah, I think that if you had a different personality living in your head, it would be a 6-foot-tall philosopher who wears stilts.
Am I 6 feet tall from the stilts? I just have like a couple inches of stilt.
No, you're actually 7 feet tall when you wear the stilts.
Okay, cool.
But your philosophy is that the world is better when you're really, really tall.
Yeah.
And you've written several books, and none of them are like the standard 4:3 aspect ratio. Like, they're very, very tall books.
Oh yeah.
Like a Richard Scarry book.
Like almost a scroll, but you can't roll it up.
Right. Because it's a hardcover.
Yeah.
Because your other philosophy is that paper covers are for dingleberries.
Yeah.
So,
I can go with
That's
that.
me.
okay. Abby, if you had another personality living inside your head, it would be a very anxious squirrel.
But you get squirrel powers. Because apparently that's
like
part
a
of
flying
personality.
squirrel. But you barely ever take off. Because you're afraid your wings won't be wide enough.
So you just climb things really fast. Go.
And you get to the top and go, how do I get down?
Oh, dear.
Okay.
That's funny.
Katie, if you had another personality living inside your head,
Oh, boy.
I feel that it would be one of those like 45-year-old mechanics who scratches his belly and is always on break. Doling out what you believe is wisdom, but is really just drunken mess of words.
Yep.
Passing gas no matter who's in the room.
I'm an old drunk. That's fitting.
That's funny.
But you like to watch Dancing with the Stars at night when no one's around. All right, it's only fair. Each of you get to throw one at me. What do you think my alternate personality would be? Whoever claims it first gets to go.
You're someone you're like a really well-palated food critic, and you're really into like really fancy
Go with
foods.
that.
Like that's awesome.
We just went with
Piggy's
that.
person.
I am the
That's
pickiest
it.
person in the entire world. If you make mac and cheese, it has to be Kraft, and if you use the wrong amount of butter, you can get out of my house.
Oh my gosh. I tried to make mac and cheese once. And
You did it wrong. The
See,
recipe's on the box.
I don't look at the recipe because I'm just like, I add a little bit of butter, some milk. I was like,
Then what's the
I
point of
don't
them
do
putting
it.
the recipe out there? And then you're telling people to tweet you recipes. You're not going to look at them.
I look at recipes that are new and then I look at recipes and I follow them if they're new to me. But after that, I start adding things that I know.
And when she
that
says
I know.
adding things, she means she adds garlic powder and red pepper flakes to everything. I had to stop her from putting it on pie once.
Whatever.
I'm kidding. All right, Abby, what you got?
Can I just roll with Micah's?
Nah, you got to come up with something. Come on.
Darn.
I did a one for each of you.
Okay, this is gonna sound like I'm actually copying you, but it was running through my mind right before you said that I was an anxious squirrel. I was gonna call you a nervous chipmunk.
That's very true. If you see me on set, like when
You
I'm directing,
you are
I'm
a
very
nervous chipmunk. You're like
Ugh.
high strung, but you're darting from one place to another, and then every once in a while you're stuffing something in your mouth. It's just you are a nervous chipmunk.
He reminds me more of one of those lizards that runs so fast that it runs on water. His arms are just kind of flapping around.
I run everywhere on set. Like I've tried to stop myself, but if I'm directing, I am running everywhere.
Oh man, it's funny.
It's like that thing's 5 feet away. I have to sprint like Usain Bolt to get to it, or we're gonna run out of time. I like
Okay.
that.
Remember you love me.
Nothing good
called
ever
you
starts
an
with
old
that.
Okay.
fat guy.
So when you're angry and like you're mad at the world, I think of when you just like, you're in a terrible mood from work or whatever.
When you put
just this-
garlic flakes on
No,
things.
it's not that. This other person that just like you're happy and happy-go-lucky right now, but then there's this other person that just sits on the couch eating chips, just flipping through Netflix shows, and then you ask him, "What's wrong?" Shrug.
Nothing.
So, pretty much your other personality would probably be a brooding college boy.
All right, so my alternate personalities are a nervous chipmunk, a food critic, and just an angry man. Cool. I'll get to work on those, and we'll make Split 2 next week. Well, now that you've had a window into each of our souls, thank you for joining us. This is Roll Sound, our podcast where we weekly talk about movies, TV shows, and other stuff, chipmunks and squirrels mostly. We want to thank you for joining us here. If you want to talk to us, suggest topics for future episodes, or if you want to say, we love the show and we're giving you a 5-star review on iTunes, please let us know that stuff too. Just you can tweet us at rollsoundpod, or you can email us. Our email is rollsoundpod@gmail.com. We're going to be doing this every week, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you. And on that, it's time to say goodbye. Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
But-